unless you are really holding yourself accountable and owning outcomes.
And self-doubt is probably the biggest enemy to creativity.
We have to make the choice every single day to channel our own inner Jacindas.
It's very important to seek out, to actively seek out and listen very carefully to negative feedback.
Far more is gained by walking on the shop floor and talking to the people and trying to communicate. One of my weaknesses has been, I think, I've never communicated enough or adequately with our people, partly because I'm a shy person, and secondly, because I didn't realize the importance of communication. But I think communication with the employees is an exceedingly important function that any company chairman has to do and be visible in that sense.
You better stay on top of yourself and really measure. Unless people measure themselves, you don't get any better. You cannot succeed unless you are really holding yourself accountable and owning outcomes. Believe me, I've seen plenty of people at Microsoft, various places in the tech industry, brilliant people, who when it came time to execute and actually count success, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much. In order to do that, you have to actually know what the goal is. If the goal was to get to 450 million users and then sell to Facebook, WhatsApp did a hell of a job, right? I mean that. It's not it's a hell of a job at 19 billion, 55 people. That's a hell of a job. But you have to decide, what outcome do you want? Bill Gates was offered $7.5 million to sell all of Microsoft in 1979. It would have been a rich guy if he had taken it. Richer if he didn't, but a rich guy. But even putting that aside, the impact on society wouldn't have been the same. We had discussions with Facebook about buying Facebook, but Zuckerberg knew what he viewed as an outcome that he really desired and was willing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears, just like we were. So execution and measurement are hugely important, and yet people let themselves off the hook.
We have to make the choice every single day to channel our own inner Jacindas, to exemplify the truth and the respect and the grace that we actually wish for the world. We need to tell it, as we're doing at this conference. We need to write it. We need to sing it. We need to proclaim it. We need to be it. We need to be the truth. We have to be the respect. We have to be the fierceness, the love that we want to see. And when we do that, mark my words, a change is already coming.
It's very important to seek out, to actively seek out and listen very carefully to negative feedback. And this is something that people tend to avoid because it's painful.
Yeah.
But I think this is a very common mistake, is to not actively seek out and listen to negative feedback. You really need to sort of coax negative feedback. And you know that if somebody is your friend, or at least not your enemy, and they're giving you negative feedback, then they may be wrong, but it's coming from a good place. And sometimes even your enemies give you good negative feedback.
Now, fear is a really powerful thing. But when you surrender and say, I'm not scared of fear, it's unbelievably liberating. Now, I don't like to be embarrassed, but I'm not scared of it. But it wasn't always like that for me. When I was a senior in college, There was a girl that I liked. I had to have my roommate in college call her up and ask her to go to the formal as me. He literally called up and said, hey, this is Jesse. That fast forward 20 years. I like this girl. I'm trying to court her. She's the founder of Spanx. I call the phone, her assistant at Spanx, and this is the same time that I'm about to run a 100-mile race nonstop in 24 hours for charity. I call up, I get to the assistant, and I said, can you tell Sarah that I would love to wear Spanx if in this 100-mile race, if she would give me a testimonial for my website? I don't want a testimonial, I wanted Sarah. Obviously, the assistant goes, hold on one second, puts me on hold and says, Sarah, there's some lunatic on the phone that wants to run 100 miles in Spanx. She says, I think I might know that lunatic. And a year later, she married the lunatic. But in between that time when my roommate had a call to ask this girl for a date, to when I got Sarah, I call it like the lamb mentality and the lion mentality, there was a lot of self-doubt. And self-doubt is probably the biggest enemy to creativity. And the way you conquer self-doubt is by doing things that make you uncomfortable.